You know that thing that we all do as parents when we tell our kids to be honest and tell the truth or own their mistakes and clean up their messes, and yet then we go and do the opposite? We sneak a cookie after bedtime even though we tell our kids, no way, you've brushed your teeth, you can't eat now. Or we tell them to stay calm and use your words, meanwhile we are flipping our lid and slamming doors. And we expect them to fess up and tell the truth when they've broken something, meanwhile we are hiding that vase behind the couch. Yeah, that is called a double standard. Some might say it's being hypocritical, or maybe just not practicing what we preach. Well, last week I did exactly that. I'm going to show you guys something down here. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see it, but I'm going to describe it for you guys who are listening on the podcast. This is what I'm holding up. It's a little yellow container. I don't know if some of you guys know from TV Gudetama. This is my daughter's favorite container. She actually got it from her grandparents around Easter time, I think from the Easter show that comes here every year in Sydney. And you might be able to hear something because what I did was accidentally, when I was getting her lunch ready one day, shoved these stupid, who makes these flimsy little tabs that click on the side? I don't know. It's not my fault, no. So I was shoving it too hard, trying to get them to click, and then bam. Well, the whole thing just fell. There we go. I totally ripped off, that's what's inside, these little tabs. And when it happened in the moment, I was like, no, because these are flimsy and they're little plastic stuff. Like, this is not something we can probably super glue on. And the thing is, instead of telling her straight away, I avoided it. And I put it away and I found another container and made her lunch, and then off to school she went. I told myself that I was waiting for the right time to tell her, which was partly true, but to be honest, I didn't want to see her upset. I didn't want to disappoint her. I also knew that this was something that she absolutely loved, and I didn't want that, sense of letting her down and doing something, that would really upset her. Obviously, I did eventually tell her, and she was actually okay with it. She had a look and she was disappointed, and she tried to see if she could just put it back together herself. And I actually heard her say under her breath in the moment, she was like, there's always a way to solve a problem, which is something that I say way too much to our kids, but now they are repeating themselves. So I actually thought that was pretty awesome. So she was disappointed, but I kind of made it bigger than it needed to be in my head because she was okay with it. And yeah, we're going to try and see if we can fix it. So this is the thing. It really hit me that this is exactly what kids feel when they hide things from us. They're not being naughty or sneaky. They're actually just being human like we are. So I kind of want to unpack this moment and what happened and I guess what it taught me and how it can really help us to hold space for the real, the messy, the imperfect kind of parenting without putting our kids on this pedestal that, to be honest, we cannot even reach ourselves. So something that I think it's really worth reflecting on for ourselves and having a good think about is the fact that, the kicker is we often tell our kids it is okay to make mistakes. It is always best to be honest and tell the truth. Be put in this vulnerable space where we've hurt someone, done the wrong thing, made a mistake, or, damaged or broken something of theirs. That's a really difficult place to be in. They're really difficult emotions to feel and to just sit in. Most of us want to avoid it. And I have to say, I believe it's this blueprint that we all have, which is kind of like our programming running under the surface that was created when we were kids. This blueprint of it's not okay to make mistakes because when you do, you get told off. You get sent to your room. When you do something wrong, you get smacked or spanked or hit or whatever that was. Most of us were not really related to positively or a loving way when we did the wrong thing and we stuffed up. And I want to just kind of say here, even if your parents or caregivers were not the type of people to yell and slam the door or hit you or, have these really big emotional reactions, it can still really be difficult for us as kids just to have this sense of I've disappointed or let down someone I love. I don't want to do that now to my kids or to my husband. And I'm like a fully grown adult. I don't think anyone loves that sense of like, oh, I've done the wrong thing, or I forgot to do that thing. And now I have to tell that person I didn't do that thing that I said I would, or I did the thing that I shouldn't have. So for me, with my daughter, that took me, I'm going to say like several days. I don't even know how long it was. And it was sitting on the bench, like it was, I didn't hide it. It was just in plain sight, but there was a lot of mess near the toaster and the kettle. Anyway, it sat there, and I hesitated. I was like, when is a good time to tell her? Oh my gosh, it's her favorite thing. Like, she obviously doesn't use it every day. Otherwise she would have been like, where is my Gudetama container? But I just think, isn't that interesting? Someone even like me, right, who I talk about, write about, teach about emotional intelligence for parents all day, every day, is my livelihood. Like, I've written a book about this bloody thing, and I still have moments where I'm like, oh, like I'd rather not. I want to avoid. I don't want to. I want to, like, can we sweep it under the rug? It's still, I think, just so deep in our bones sometimes that some of these situations and the emotions that go with them are really unpleasant and uncomfortable. I genuinely, I go back to the idea that I don't think I've met anyone who loves being in vulnerable, difficult, emotional situations. If you do, then I don't know, like, you're weird. Anyway, so for me to reflect, I think this is going to be helpful for you guys because you're human too, and you're a parent, and, no one is perfect. You'll have had moments like this, okay? It kind of made me reflect and think, you know what? Why was it so hard for me to own up to something so small? Why was I avoiding telling the truth to someone I love? And the answer is, it is human to avoid guilt, to avoid conflict, to avoid letting people down, this sense of disappointment. That is so human of us. I kind of think that shows that, like, I'm not a psychopath. And our kids too, they are human. Maybe I could say they're even more human than us. We know that their brain is way under construction, especially if your kids are anywhere from 0 to like late 20s, okay? So they're still developing the wiring in their brain that allows them these cognitive skills to have difficult conversations and to have empathy and compassion and strength and resilience, and to be able to communicate well and clearly and honestly. So if I, a grown-up with a fully developed brain and years of emotional work, still struggle with this, how can I expect either of my kids to immediately own up to something that they've done that's really uncomfortable? So here is what I want to say to you, like parent to parent. Do not hold your child to a higher standard than you can even reach yourself. Do you always speak up when you make a mistake? Do you sometimes avoid awkward conversations or confrontations? And do you eat too many cookies when no one is watching, like me, or is that just me? Kids are growing, we're all learning. And I think instead of saying always be honest, you have to be honest and tell the truth, maybe try something like this. I know that being honest is really hard sometimes. It is hard for me too. But I'm here with you while you try. And to be honest, this is emotionally intelligent parenting in action. It's not about being perfect. It's about noticing your feelings. It's about understanding your reactions and then being willing to try again and again and then again some more. So yes, eventually I did tell her, and she was sad, she was disappointed, but she was okay and she forgave me very quickly. She's amazing like that. Both my kids are. And she also knows, again, that I'm not perfect, and that is not a bad thing. I want to show her and our son that, you know what, I mess up and I make mistakes and I am not perfect, and there is absolutely no reason that you need to like reach this standard that I'm at, because we all stuff up. And that's okay. It's part of being human. Like, there's nothing bad about that. It can feel difficult. It can feel uncomfortable, but like, we're in it together. And actually, you know what the other thing is? I was able to model to her the difficulty of being honest when you have made a mistake or hurt someone or let someone down. Like, I went over to her and I was like, hey, and she was like, yeah. And I said, I think I made a joke and said something like, how much do you love me? And she was like, lots, why? And I was like, I'm sorry. I like showed her the container and I was like, this is your favorite container, and I accidentally broke it. And her face fell. But I showed her and I said, I think she said, how did you do it? Or what happened? And I said, well, I was trying to get your pasta in the other day for lunch and I was trying to shove down these silly little flaps and then I pushed too hard and it broke. And she understood. She took it and had a look at it. And like I said before, she said there's always a way to solve a problem. And I was like, oh, what a beautiful and honest and empathetic response from her, even though it is her favorite little Gudetama bowl. It's so cute. Oh, so annoyed. So if you have ever lost it at your kids or messed up, number one, you're not alone. And number two, you do not have to immediately own up and be the bigger, more mature person. Obviously that's the ideal, but just know that this stuff is hard and we're human and it's not supposed to be easy breezy, a walk in the park. By the way, when I was preparing to do this episode, I was thinking about all the different ways in which we can be basically giant hypocrites with our kids. Here is my list. Are you ready? I hope this blows you away because it totally got me. And then I kind of felt really guilty and I was like, I'm going to be nicer to my kids. Okay, tick these off with me mentally. Ready? Do you ever sneak treats or snacks after the kids go to bed, even though you tell them not to? Do you use screens at the table, but then you tell your kids no devices during meals? Or maybe eating tons of junk food when you tell your kids to eat their veggies because they're so healthy? Do you ever skip breakfast but tell your kids they have to eat breakfast? It's the most important meal of the day. Do you scroll on your phone constantly but then tell your kids to limit screen time? Do you ever get distracted by tech? I totally do. But then we're telling our kids to pay attention or to be present. Here is a big one. Interrupting others and speaking over them, but yet we expect our kids to listen and to wait their turn. Sometimes we also raise our voice or snap, but we say to our kids, use your calm voice or use your inside voice. Here are some emotional ones. Ready? We can often bottle up our feelings and hide our stress, but we're telling our kids, you can talk to me about anything. Why don't they open up to us? Also, I think a lot of us avoid apologizing to our kids, and yet we expect our kids to say sorry immediately. We can also get really defensive or make excuses, but then we are expecting our kids to own it, own their behavior, be accountable. And then of course we can react emotionally or yell, even though we're telling our kids to stay calm or put a lid on it. I don't know, the list can go on, right? There's tons more. And I just think it's important for us to kind of take ourselves down a peg or two so that we're not holding our kids to a higher standard than we can even achieve. It could be to do with emotions, it could be to do with what you eat or how you exercise or what you spend your time doing, but come on, we've got to be honest with ourselves. I know we're the parents and the adults and we have kind of different rules that apply to us, like alcohol or driving, but I think it's still important to be honest with our kids and be a little bit vulnerable and own up to those moments where we kind of act less than we expect or we behave in a way that we don't like. Hope you enjoyed that checklist. Okay, because I'm super organized, I made a list of 5 takeaways from this episode for you guys. First one is, don't expect more from your child than you can do yourself. Number 2, avoidance is human. It is not just a kid problem. They do this out of fear, maybe out of shame, or just not wanting to disappoint us. That's normal. Number 3 is that real emotional intelligence is about rupture and repair. It's not about perfection. Number 4, I kind of really like this one. Just let go of that idea of practicing what you preach as a rigid rule. Maybe just don't aim for perfection, aim for self-awareness. You're going to have moments where you act out of sync with your values. It is way more powerful just to acknowledge that rather than pretending you've got it all together. And number 5, I love this one, vulnerability builds connection. When you admit your own mistakes or your own double standards, this builds trust. Kids feel safer knowing that you know how hard it can be and that they don't have to be perfect either. Hooray! I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please give me a comment below if you're watching along on YouTube. Have you ever done something like this to your kids? Because I do not want to be the only one. And if you're listening along on the podcast, thank you. And please take a second to rate and review the podcast. That would mean the world and it helps it grow. Okay, I'm off to find some super glue.